If you've ever followed a true crime case, you're probably familiar with the usual ending: life in prison without the possibility of parole. It sounds straightforward. Justice is served, the bad guys pay. But what about the reality? Many brutal killers are eventually released. Maybe after 10, 20, or even 30 years, they walk out and start a new life. Meanwhile, their victims never get a second chance, and in today's video, you'll hear about one of those cases. McKenzie Cowell, 17, is an energetic girl living in Wenatchee, Washington, a small, peaceful town located on the gentle Columbia River. She is a senior at Wenatchee High School, a member of the dance team, and especially loves the beauty industry. Like many other teenage girls, McKenzie had big dreams: to become a beautician and own her own salon. To make that happen, she enrolled in the Academy of Hair Design, a vocational training center right in town. She not only studied, but also worked as a model for hair cutting and makeup sessions at the academy. It can be said that McKenzie was on the way to making her dream come true. McKenzie's parents, Mr. Reed and Mrs. Wendy Cowell, were divorced. However, they still maintained a friendly relationship to take care of their daughter. McKenzie lived part of her time with her mother, part of her time with her father. She had a habit of having dinner and watching movies with her father every Wednesday night. It was a tradition that father and daughter maintained for many years, a very special and beautiful thing in Reed's memory. That day was a cold afternoon in Washington. McKenzie was at the academy as usual. Around 3 p.m., she told her friends she was going out for a little while, just 15 minutes. Security cameras captured McKenzie leaving the building, getting into her red Pontiac Grand Prix, and driving away. Before leaving, she sent her boyfriend a short text: "Hey, what's up?" Unexpectedly, that was her last text. Time passed, 15 minutes, then 30, then an hour, but McKenzie didn't return. At first, her friends weren't too worried. Maybe she had changed her plans to go see her father, as she usually did on Wednesdays. But that night, Reed Cowell waited at the dinner table. McKenzie didn't show up, nor did she text or call. This was a complete contrast to his daughter, who was always punctual, always picked up the phone, and always kept her promises. At 8 p.m., when Reed couldn't wait any longer, he officially called the police. "My daughter is missing." That night, Wenatchee police began searching. They contacted McKenzie's mother, her boyfriend, her classmates, all of whom were confused. No one knew where she was. The next day, they received a call from a Mission Ridge resident: "There's a car abandoned in my yard." The police arrived and confirmed it was McKenzie's Pontiac. Her purse was in the car, but no phone, keys, or credit cards. And what made everyone even more nervous, there was only one footprint leaving the car. There was no sign of a struggle, but a sense of unease spread. After 4 days of searching, on February 13, 2010, McKenzie's body was found on the banks of the Columbia River, more than 20 miles from her home. She was wearing the black uniform of her beauty school, just as she had been the day she went missing. Her body was completely intact, with no signs of sexual assault, but a long serrated knife was stuck in her shoulder. Cause of death: strangulation and blunt force trauma. Nearby, police found duct tape and trash bags scattered, as if someone had tried to hide the body but then given up. When the news spread, the town of Wenatchee was silent. McKenzie, the young girl with the radiant smile, could not have been the victim of such a crime. Her funeral was held on February 25, 2010, with 1,800 people in attendance. The school dance team performed in her memory. Hundreds of purple and pink balloons, McKenzie's favorite colors, were released into the sky. It was not just a farewell, but a call for justice. The killer was not someone she knew. Not a boyfriend. Not a stepfather. Not a family member, but a name that sent shivers down everyone's spine when they learned the truth. First, the police turned their attention to McKenzie's boyfriend. He agreed to take a polygraph test and failed. This naturally raised their suspicions, but there was no hard evidence to convict him. Next came the stepfather, Joe Fisher, who was said to have had a major argument with McKenzie shortly before her disappearance. But after examining the evidence and alibi, the police also ruled him out. The result? All dead ends. As the case languished, the police received a remarkable confession from Liz Reed, a college student, police informant, and drug addict. Liz said she had seen a snuff film, a true-life murder film, in which drug dealers Sam Quavies and Emmanuel Siros confessed to killing McKenzie. Sound crazy? Maybe. But Liz knew details that had never been made public, such as the shape of the knife that killed McKenzie. She also gave police a ring that McKenzie had worn, which was confirmed by photographs. However, just a few days later, Liz retracted her entire statement. Police confirmed that neither she nor the two other men were near the scene at the time of the murder. The case fell silent again. After several months, an anonymous letter was sent to the investigation team, written by a man named Theo Keyes. Theo claimed that McKenzie's killer was Christopher Scott Wilson, a friend of his. At first, the police were skeptical. Theo had a history of mental disorders and had been arrested for strange behavior in public. But the name Christopher Wilson caught their attention. Christopher Wilson, 29, attended the same hairdressing academy as McKenzie. He had a gothic appearance, dyed black hair, pale skin, and strange clothes, but what made the police stand on end was this: Chris was obsessed with Dexter, a serial killer and forensic expert. He had a tattoo of Hannibal Lecter, the cannibal from The Silence of the Lambs. He used to work at a morgue. Are you starting to get chills yet? When checking Chris's online activities, the police discovered that he frequently participated in forums discussing serial killers, how to dispose of corpses, and analyzing murder cases. He had also boasted that he liked to cut people up, which sounded like a joke, but now, no one was laughing anymore. Chris was called in for questioning. At first, he was cooperative. He said he only knew McKenzie a little bit from the academy. The police asked for a DNA sample, and Chris agreed. The results stunned the team. Chris's DNA matched the sample found on duct tape next to McKenzie's body. The police began to narrow down the area. Chris left the academy shortly after McKenzie that day. A resident described seeing a guy who looked like Chris near where McKenzie had left his car. Chris's old apartment, just 3 blocks from the academy, was also searched. At first, the apartment looked clean. But when tested with a special chemical, a large area of the floor was glowing. The carpet had been thoroughly washed, but underneath the carpet was dried blood. The test confirmed the blood belonged to McKenzie. And that's not all. Phone records show McKenzie's phone last pinged Chris's apartment between 3 o'clock and 3:42 p.m., matching the time she disappeared. After her second arrest, Chris refused to answer questions, requesting a lawyer, but a new witness emerged, Shauna Novak, who said Chris had tried to strangle her at a party, knocking her unconscious. And finally, the most mysterious factor emerged: Chris's ex-girlfriend Tessa Skolman. When police searched Chris's phone and computer, they found a video of Tessa lying motionless on the floor, pretending to be dead, in the exact spot where the blood had been found. Another clip shows Chris asking, "Is the apartment clean?" To which Tessa replies, "Yes, it is." Tessa and Chris called each other 6 times the night McKenzie went missing, and Chris even borrowed Tessa's car, even though his own was still in working order. The car was also found near where McKenzie's body was found. The pieces of the puzzle: DNA, blood, cameras, witnesses, and creepy videos all led to one name: Christopher Scott Wilson. After piecing together all the evidence, blood, cell phone signals, and creepy videos from the apartment, police arrested Christopher Scott Wilson and formally charged him with second-degree murder. That was in October 2010, just 8 months after McKenzie went missing. But you think that's where it ended? No, despite the overwhelming evidence. The case was far from easy. Chris's legal team was no pushover. Leading the charge was John Henry Brown, a man best known for defending notorious criminals like Ted Bundy and barefoot bandit Colton Harrismore. Their strategy was clear: there's no direct evidence. Only circumstantial. And who knows? The police might have made it up? One shocking argument they clung to: the police planted McKenzie's blood in Chris's apartment. They claimed there were no direct witnesses, there was no camera recording Chris killing McKenzie, and no one had ever confirmed that the two had spoken to each other. They even demanded that prejudicial details be removed, like Chris's work at the morgue. His love of Dexter, or his Hannibal Lecter tattoo, the court agreed. Chris maintained the same attitude: I'm innocent. Even when offered a plea bargain to reduce his sentence to 6.5 years, he refused, a calm, even, suspiciously confident attitude, and you won't believe what happens next. After a lengthy court battle, Chris got another deal: 14 years and 3 months in prison, in exchange for pleading guilty to first-degree manslaughter, robbery, and second-degree assault, not first-degree murder. The entire community was shocked: a teenage girl brutally murdered, her body dumped in a river, a man with DNA at the scene, blood in the apartment, strange video, and witness testimony, and he only served 14 years. Tessa Skolman, his ex-girlfriend, who was in the video simulating the body on the floor, who had contacted Chris several times that day, and even lent him her car, was not prosecuted. There was no strong enough evidence, the prosecutor said, and so Tessa walked free. On December 11, 2023, Christopher Wilson was released from prison, as scheduled. He was just over 40 years old, free to live, despite having completely taken away the life of a 17-year-old girl. Chris must report to his probation officer until 2026, but otherwise, he is a free man. McKenzie Cowell's memorial service was held on February 25, 2010 in Wenatchee. Nearly 1,800 people attended. Her high school dance team performed a final performance in memory of her friend. Hundreds of pink and purple balloons, McKenzie's favorite colors, were released into the sky. A small town cried, and they still cry. To this day, McKenzie's parents, Reed and Wendy, were divorced. But they shared the pain of losing their child. Reed once said, "I lost not only a child, but also my dream of her future." It all disappeared on a February afternoon. Wendy shared that she still has all of her daughter's belongings, unable to touch the room McKenzie slept in. Each day that passes is an empty day, a series of questions that will never be answered. Why? Why my daughter? Why did he only get 14 years? The end of the McKenzie Cowell case leaves a bitter aftertaste. It seems like justice has been served, the perpetrator has been convicted, but it seems like justice has been violated. The sentence is too light, and the suspect is living freely. No clear motive, no public confession, no clear answers for the family, and the pain, it's still raw. You may never have heard of McKenzie Cowell, you may never have been to Washington. But this story is a reminder that violence can come from anyone, even someone you see every day in class, at work, or in the apartment next door, and when justice is not served, the living are left behind, lost in the what could have been. If only she hadn't left the academy that day. If only he had been sentenced to death. If only McKenzie were still alive, he would be 32 this year. And that's the end of the McKenzie Cowell case, a heartbreaking, controversial case that will never be forgotten. What do you think about the sentence? Is 14 years worth the life of a 17-year-old girl? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to spread stories like this, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next video.